Former Springbok coach Nick Mallett has identified two players who could succeed Pieter-Steph du Toit. One of them is Elrigh Louw, a blindside flanker who's already earned 10 test caps and proven himself at international level. But what happened to him in early 2025 should have ended everything. The question isn't whether South Africa needs to find Pieter-Steph du Toit as replacement. The question is whether they already have. Let me tell you something about Pieter-Steph du Toit that most people don't fully appreciate. The man isn't just a two-time World Rugby Player of the Year. He isn't just a World Cup winner who delivered a man-of-the-match performance in a final. He's the standard. At 32 years old, standing 2 meters tall, weighing 1,114 kilograms, he's built his reputation on stamina, defensive dominance, and a tackle count that makes opposition coaches lose sleep. His career nearly ended multiple times. 2 ACL tears on the same leg exactly 1 year apart. A compartment syndrome in 2020 that almost cost him his left leg. Vicar emergency surgery where doctors couldn't close the wound for 2 weeks. He lost 10 kilograms in 2 weeks, his leg reduced in width, yet he came back stronger every single time. That's the man South Africa needs to replace. That's the standard the next generation must meet. Everyone talks about succession planning in rugby as if it's simple. Find someone tall, someone thoughtful, someone willing to do the dirty work. But replacing Pieter-Steph du Toit isn't about finding someone who can tackle or carry or ruck. It's about finding someone who can anchor an entire forward pack. Someone opposition teams build their game plan around stopping. Someone whose mere presence changes how test matches unfold. The Springboks have been searching. They've tested players, rotated combinations, given opportunities to prove themselves in the green and gold. And through all that searching, all that rotation, one name keeps forcing its way back into the conversation, no matter how many setbacks he faces. The thing about rugby succession in South Africa is that it's never straightforward. We don't hand jerseys over based on potential or promise. You earn your place through performance, through proving you can handle the intensity when everything is on the line. Pieter-Steph du Toit himself didn't just walk into the Springbok setup and dominate. He earned it through years of injury battles, through fighting back from career-threatening setbacks, through showing he belonged at the highest level. Now, as the 2027 Rugby World Cup approaches and Pieter-Steph du Toit will be 35 years old, the question isn't whether South Africa needs to find his successor. The question is whether they already have.
Elrigh Louw's journey started at high school Transvalia. In August 2020, he signed with the Bulls. Everything changed. Jake White assembled something special at Loftus Versfeld. He brought in veterans, developed youth, created a culture where excellence wasn't optional. Louw found himself training alongside Springbok legends, learning from the best. In one of his first training sessions during a shoulder check drill, Louw ran straight through Duane Vermeulen, the legend, a 2-time World Cup winner, and one of the most physically imposing players ever to wear the green and gold, immediately smashed him back several times to establish hierarchy. But Louw didn't back down. He kept coming. That's who he is. Former Springbok Willem Alberts praised Louw's uncomplicated, tough approach. No gimmicks. Puts his body on the line for teammates. Does the work nobody sees but everyone feels. That's the foundation of his game. And it's precisely what South Africa needs. Throughout the Bulls' rise in the United Rugby Championship, Louw kept proving himself. Massive tackle counts, ball-carrying impact, turnover ability at the breakdown, the complete blindside package. When Rassie Erasmus started building depth for the Springboks, Louw got his opportunity, and he seized it. 10 caps earned throughout his breakthrough year, including starts during the Rugby Championship when South Africa needed him most. Against New Zealand at Emirates Airline Park, he came off the bench when the Boks were down 27-17, and helped engineer one of the greatest comebacks in recent memory. Afterwards, Louw called it his biggest career highlight. A United Rugby Championship match against the Lions brought devastating injury. Multiple ligament tears including ACL, MCL, and PCL. A fractured leg. Doctors initially feared career-ending implications. The Bulls targeted February 2026 for his return, a year out of the game. But Louw's response tells you everything about why he's the heir apparent. He's already back, ahead of schedule, making his return nearly a year after that catastrophic injury, coming off the bench against the Lions at Loftus, then starting matches in the Champions Cup. Bulls CEO Edgar Rathbone confirmed Louw recovered faster than expected. Coach Johan Ackermann spoke about having his experience and influence back in the squad, and of performances, making the most carry meters in matches, high tackle counts, winning turnovers.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. South Africa isn't short on talented blindside options. Cameron Hanekom brings different attributes. Athletic, dynamic with ball in hand, can sidestep, handoff, run over, or around defenders. Rassie Erasmus called him an army knife, who could cover multiple positions. He made his Springbok debut, earned recognition, looked destined for greatness, then complete hamstring rupture during the URC semi-finals. Ended his season. The parallels between Louw and Hanekom matter because they demonstrate something crucial about South African rugby. Talent alone doesn't guarantee anything. Potential means nothing without opportunity and persistence. Both players faced career-defining setbacks, exactly when momentum was building. Both had to watch from the sidelines, while others filled their spots. Both had to battle through dark moments of recovery, questioning whether they'd return to form. Yet their situations also highlight a key difference. Hanekom plays a more expansive game. Louw plays a more traditional, hard-nosed blindside role. And when you're replacing Pieter-Steph du Toit, tradition matters. Look at what Mallett specifically said about Louw. Height, physical strength, rugby intelligence, those three qualities combined create an excellent seven-flanker in the South African system. Now consider what we actually watched Louw do throughout his breakthrough season. He wasn't just making tackles or hitting rucks. He was reading the game, positioning himself perfectly, making crucial interventions when matches hung in the balance. Against the All Blacks, when South Africa needed someone to help turn the tide, Louw delivered. Against Argentina, when the Boks dominated 48-7, Louw's work rate set standards. These performances weren't flukes or one-off moments of brilliance. They represented consistent excellence, the kind that wins championships. The competition between these two Bulls stars shouldn't be framed as choosing one over the other. South Africa's strength has always been depth. Having multiple world-class options means injuries don't cripple campaigns. Having players who can slot in seamlessly means tactical flexibility. Having young talent pushing established stars means everyone elevates their game. But when we're specifically discussing who replaces Pieter-Steph du Toit as the starting blindside, who becomes that foundational piece the Springbok forward pack builds around, Louw edges ahead for specific reasons. First, his playing style more closely mirrors what Pieter-Steph du Toit provides. That uncomplicated physical, workhorse approach South Africa relies upon. Second, his age timing aligns perfectly. At 26, he'll be entering his prime years, exactly when Pieter-Steph du Toit steps away. Third, and this cannot be overstated, he's already proven himself at test level before the injury struck. He knows what international rugby demands. He's felt that pressure and thrived under it. Former Springbok John Mokoena noted that Louw's impact off the bench creates a like-for-like situation. When Pieter-Steph du Toit comes off the field, that's the ultimate compliment in South African rugby. You're not just good enough to play international rugby, you're good enough that the team doesn't miss the World Player of the Year when you replace him. That's the standard. That's what succession planning looks like when it actually works. And Louw has already demonstrated he meets that standard. The injury was a setback, yes, but setbacks are part of the journey. Pieter-Steph du Toit himself lost 4 years out of 8 to injuries, but yet he became arguably the greatest blindside flanker of his generation.
Let's address the elephant in the room. Why are people questioning whether Louw can fill Pieter-Steph du Toit's boots? Part of it is natural caution. South Africans have watched too many promising players fail to deliver. Part of it is the Hanekom factor, creating manufactured competition. But the biggest part is people haven't fully grasped what Louw represents. Consider the timeline. The 2027 Rugby World Cup takes place when Louw will be 28 years old. Peak years for a forward. The perfect age for a blindside flanker to dominate. Pieter-Steph du Toit will be 35. And while his proven age is just a number, Father Time remains undefeated. South Africa needs someone ready to shoulder that responsibility. Someone who won't be learning on the job during a World Cup campaign. Louw checks every box. He's been in the system. He's earned Rassie's trust. He's performed when the stakes were highest. The injury timeline might actually work in his favor. He'll have 18 months to build back to full fitness, regain his place in the Springbok squad, and establish himself before the tournament begins. That's not rushing. That's perfect preparation. The Bulls have locked him down through a contract extension. recognizing his value to their future. The Springbok coaching staff selected him ahead of other options when everyone was healthy, showing where he ranks in their plans. Nick Mallett, a man who understands what world-class blindside play looks like, specifically named him as Pieter-Steph du Toit's successor. These aren't random endorsements from people who don't know rugby. These are informed judgments from individuals whose careers depend on being right about player evaluation. And they're all saying the same thing. Louw is the answer. What makes this succession compelling isn't just that Louw can replace Pieter-Steph du Toit, it's that he might be perfectly suited for how rugby needs to evolve. Pieter-Steph du Toit operated in an era where defense mattered most. Louw brings that defensive intensity, while showing ability with ball in hand. He can carry effectively, make meters after contact, create momentum. That combination of old-school toughness with modern skill set makes him not just Pieter-Steph du Toit's replacement, but his evolution. The final piece of this puzzle is the simplest. Louw wants this. You saw it in how he played before the injury, attacking every opportunity like it might be his last. You see it in how he's approached recovery, coming back ahead of schedule, because he refuses to let this setback define him. You'll see it again when he returns to Test rugby, and shows the year away only made him better. Ambition, work ethic, and talent create a dangerous combination. When that combination exists in a player whose physical gifts and rugby intelligence match what the position demands, you don't overthink it. You build your team around that player, and watch them fulfill the destiny everyone saw coming. The debate about whether Elrigh Louw will replace Pieter-Steph du Toit shouldn't be a debate. The evidence is clear, the path obvious, the player ready. South Africa found its next great blindside flanker at Loftus-Versfeld. They watched him prove himself at Test level. They witnessed him handle adversity and come back stronger. The succession is already happening. The only question is whether everyone else is paying attention.